crypto nation and mining family. What's going on? Hope all you guys are doing great. As you saw like a couple of videos ago, yeah, I had such an amazing video. I would figure I would do something similar again, but maybe with a little less or a little more audio. Yeah, a little more, not a little less audio, a little more audio. So what do I mean by that? As we know, and here they are. They're sitting on my desk now. Yep, they're right back on my desk. Does that mean they're broken? Nope. What are we doing? Dude, we all know these freaking things come with these crappy little laptop power supplies. I don't care that they adapted it over. It's still, at the end of the day, a laptop power supply that has like really no. I've had these off now for a few minutes, and these power supplies are still warm as all get out. They are, let's see here, 124 watt output at 12.4 volts. And I was running these at, they're running right around 90-ish watts, so kind of end of the world on these things. Yeah, we need to fix this. We need to fix these gross power supplies so that we are protecting all of this stuff here, right? And I'll tell you what, I did a thing. Oh yeah, I did a thing. So you guys can rest assured, you could take a standard house plug that would plug into your power supply, and you don't have to always buy stuff. I'm just saying. And I'll be doing other videos on what I'm talking about here. So I went ahead and homologated. I got so many of these cables. A lot of it was from previous power supplies that I had eventually adapted over to 240 volt, and I didn't need the 110 plugs and stuff like that. So when you're doing this and you're going to take two of these and you're going to run it on one power supply, make sure that you grab a thick cable. You want it to be so thick. And what are we going to be doing? Yeah, you guys guessed it. I got another Meanwell power supply. This one is the LRS 612, which is the Meanwell power supply. It's a 600 watt by 12 volts. And it is variable 12 volts, guys. So keep that in mind also, that it is variable. So if you've got a little bit more load on this, you're going to have to step it up. I just typically just step them up right after rip, because the hot rodding channel, we crank it to 11 here, guys, right? I'm just saying, smash that lizardy like button for that one. So what are we going to be doing on this one? And basically got to do the same thing as we did on the other video, but we're wiring it up for two Nerdaxe plus, and it's got the front and rear fan assembly on here. These aren't done being modified, guys. My precious is gonna get personalized. I'm just saying. And the first thing we got to do before we start personalizing these things, because you know what, that when I go to personalize it, we're gonna give it the Midas touch here, and it's gonna get hot rodded. So we got to make sure that we're putting them onto a proper power supply that's not going to kill the Nerdaxes in the process of this. You can't really do much with those laptop style power supplies. They get hot, they hold heat, they like to melt down, they will destroy your shit, and they don't have enough wattage for the capabilities of what this thing can do. So I always highly recommend, if you're going to go down the path of hot rodding, here you go. Now, fun fact, guys. Fun fact. I know this power supply very well. When I got it in my hands, I was like, boy, this looks super familiar. Like I've actually held one of these in my hands at some point in time. And I was like, man, where do I know this power supply from specifically? This one specifically. And then it hit me that I have this on my 3D printer. So this is the same power supply that's in my my Ender my Ender 3D printer. So so this is what's actually powering up the power supply that's got my 3D printer, my lights on my 3D printer. So I think the one for my 3D printer is 24 volts and not the 12 volt. So that's a small little difference. But I would be curious. I mean, again, me thinking out loud here. I know it's dangerous. Don't do that too often, guys. But what if I can sit there and I know with my 3D printer, I'm able to change out the shroud on this and put in a normal fan in there instead of this little guy. In this configuration, it's a lot better than what it is in my 3D printer, because in my 3D printer, this thing is sitting underneath everything, facing down, and it's really close to the print bed. So I had to do some modifications to get this thing to be cooler. Just because, you know, I was using a whole lot more power off of this thing. So, but let's go ahead and dive right on into it. I got to put the precious cargo off to the side. Get these off to the side here. And we'll go to, we're going to make sure, guys, make sure with me. I mean, absolutely make sure with me that this is all working. Just saying. Smash that lizard like button if it's working. That's how you're going to tell the algorithm that this works. Bam! So it looks like I got audio. My OBS says I got audio, so I must have audio. All right, cool. Excellent. Here's the power supply. And nothing's fancy. So over here we have a little knob. Here we go. The little knob here. This allows you to up the output on this. So if you plug in a bunch of stuff into it, it might register a pinch under 12 volt. You can turn this knob up and give it the beans. And this way there's no load differentiation when you have multiple things plugged into this. Like the other one, it has 3 positive and then 3 grounds for the devices that you're going to plug in. Remember, computer electronics does not take AC, it takes DC power. But we're just kind of perusing around this. The next we have ground, neutral, and power. This is your AC side of this power supply. So think of it like, if you look at how my, so let's see here, go like that, yeah. So to your right, the last 3 pins, or last 3 screws, that's AC power. Everything to the other side is DC. Do not get these confused. They do have pictures on everything. The L is live or power. You got neutral, ground, DC voltage ground, DC voltage power, and then you've got your voltage control. And the voltage control is not massive. It is limited. I think it's like plus or minus, like probably around 0.8 of a volt. So you're not dealing with a whole lot of movement. You're just trying to keep it to where, with the device is all plugged in, we are above 12 volts. That is the big thing, because with the Nerdaxes or the Bidaxes, voltage regulators do not like to be undervolted, especially when they have to step that voltage up. You're going to make them work harder, and if they have to work harder, they're going to get grumpy. When they get grumpy, they create heat. Heat kills electronics. So make sure that whenever you're looking into your dashboard, if you got more than one plugged into it, or even just one, always double check to make sure that you don't need to make an adjustment with that load on there. So just tip of the wise. We continue. This has all got the product information on here. This does do 240 volt and 120, so it does do both. But caveat is, as you see here, there's a yellow sticker. Anytime you see yellow stickers on electronics, figure that's like kind of like a warning, or hey, look over here. Especially when there is an arrow that points to the side here. What are we looking at over here? If we look, oh, we got a red little toggle here. And as you see, let's see here, there we go, 230 volt is what's selected. This is how it was shipped to me. It was shipped with that thing in the 240 volt, even though it says 230. 230 is the average between it. It'll fluctuate. So this is the 240 volt switch. You're gonna have to get like a small little flathead screwdriver, and it is a manual switch. And you swap it over, and it says 115 now. So guys, remember to take a look at that. If you're getting a Meanwell power supply, double check. It has a yellow sticker telling you, hey dummy, look over here and double check. I'm just saying it, you know what I'm saying? So because like if you plug this into your 110 and it's supposed to be on 240 volts, I don't think things are going to party very nicely with each other. You're going to be hitting stuff on there that's not supposed to see power. I think for 240 volt, it just won't turn on. But if you're plugging into 240 volt and this thing is happen to be switched into 110, you're frying this thing. You will let the magic smoke out. I don't know if it'll let the magic smoke out if you put 110 onto 240 volt, because like realistically, 240 volt is 2 hots and 1 ground, where 110 is a hot, a neutral, and a ground. So with the missing 1 power leg on there, I think it just won't turn on because it won't have enough available voltage. Where the 110, you will smoke this thing if you put it on 240. So word of caution, if you got a manual switch, which it looks like all the Meanwells are manual switched, if they are dedicated, usually the Meanwells are dedicated for 240 volt because that's how they run a lot of the stuff out in China. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then there's really nothing else on there. There's a little cooling fan on here. The other one that I did from the video with no audio, that fan, I have yet to see it turn on. It's 350 watts, but I'm not running even close to 100 watts on there, so we're fine. I don't think that will ever turn the cooling fan on this thing. That's just my suspicion. So we're gonna go ahead and wire this up. Now again, this might be project overkill. I probably could have grabbed the power supply cable that was from the laptop power supplies that the Nerdaxe is used and just did the same thing I did to this, which was literally I just cut the end off. I cut the end off, and that's what's inside. It is color coded. I've never really pulled open one that wasn't color coded, with the exception if the wiring is and the insulator, which you see how the different colors, these different colors are the insulators. When the insulator and the wire are built into the whole cable length, that's usually when you don't see wire colors. But usually when you and those wires are usually flat on the cabling, versus where these ones are tubed, so it's got a protective cover, and then it's got the wires in with the insulators. So just kind of keep that in mind, and then you'll be able to homologate your cable ends like I did and do the same thing here. So what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and plug this into the AC side of this. Got my handy dandy little Phillips here. Go ahead and raise these up. Now, some people might be curious and going, well, what do the colors mean? Don't you have to wire it up in a specific way? And you'd be absolutely correct on that. And what the colors are, we got black, white, and green, right? Duh, right? You can see that. Boom. So black, when it comes to AC, and only AC, black is hot, white is neutral, green is always ground. Always. In an AC system is the only time that you're going to see a ground like this. So you're always going to say that the green is ground, white is not hot, so neutral, and then live. And then on the power supply, we've got L, N, and the ground symbol. So that little squig, the little 3 lines in a triangle with a line going through looking like an arrow, that is your schematic symbol. So if you're looking at blueprints, that would be the schematic symbol for ground. The N is neutral. L, they signify as live, or you can say hot or power, however you would like to say it. So ground goes to L, white goes to N, and the green goes to the ground symbol. So let's go ahead and start tagging some wires in here. And you don't need to have like a whole mess of copper showing. You don't need to strip back a lot to get underneath the wire captures. Just enough. I mean, like this is like maybe a 1/4 of an inch. And then what I like to do after I've cut the wire too, it kind of helps. I mean, to each their own, but wants to fight me here. I'm trying to do this as cleanly as possible, right? So sometimes when you're doing it super clean like this, I mean the only other cleaner way is if I would have actually went and bought some ends for this to go into here with horseshoe ends, but I did not do that. All right, bam. Got my neutral in there, and let's see if ground wants to cooperate and make a turn. These are a little thicker on the cables, so thick. So what ends up happening is the wires are a little harder to make a transitional turn in a small area. And I'm forcing it to do so because I was like, no, you're going to do what I tell you because I told you. So now that we've got, we can put power to this right now. We're live, right? So now we got to give our devices a way to get plugged in. And I have those right here. Bam. So these are, oh God, I forget what these are, like something 60, TX30 cable ends. So if you guys are wondering, this is where the power comes in. And these are TX30 cable ends. So if you guys are looking for replacements, they are TX30 is the part number for the cable end itself. And now we're done playing with the AC side, right? So everything that you just learned about the AC side does not apply to the DC side. DC side is a little different. What am I talking about here? We've changed color. Even though the black is still there, we have a new introduction of a new color, right? So we've got black and red wiring here. So all we've got is power and ground. Red is hot, black is not. This only applies to DC. So we got power and ground on DC. Just remember that, guys. That red is on DC circuits. So AC circuits, black is hot. On DC circuits, red is hot. So remember, DC is red hot. DC kills. Okay? So DC kills, DC red hot. It's just how my warped little brain of mine remembers stupid stuff like this. DC kills, so DC is red hot. And that kind of helps me, to each their own. And do not wire these up backwards. If you wire it up backwards, I take no responsibility when your device has a meltdown. What it will break will be something in the voltage regulator. I'll go ahead and shove these in. One into the ground side, one onto the positive side. Now, you don't have to do super tight. It really, realistically, finger tight. And then these are just wired into a bus board. So if you really think about it, like, it's 12 volts across 3 different screws. So it's just feeding power across one bridge. And then you're screwing wires into it. So if you have a power shortage, it's like power dives out, like you have a brownout. Powers flicker, and then comes back on. As the power drops down, so does the voltage across these pins. They will drop also. Keep this in mind, that when the power returns back to full power, that's almost like having a shock to the system. It's going to go from low voltage to high voltage. Now, it's going to be at the proper voltage to what you set it at with the screw. It's not going to go beyond that. But here's the caveat. It's going to go from a low power to a high power. That's almost signaling like a short circuit. So sometimes electronics get a little grumpy when that happens. Depending on what version of Nerdaxe that you have, some of them will have a fuse. The fuse will pop. Other ones, like mine, do not have the fuse, so the voltage regulator will take a hit. Knowing this, do you want to put these onto a battery backup? It can be recommended, not required. Just keep things in knowing that, these are potential risks. Not that it's gonna happen, guys. I mean, don't let me fearmonger you in any way, shape, or form. It's just like even your PC, or if you're on a laptop or your cell phone, if you're charging all that stuff in and you have a power ripple that's going off, you can damage electronics if it's not hooked into like a battery backup. Because what a battery backup will do is, like, it keeps power while power's off, right? But it also kind of helps clean the power too. So if there's any kind of power variations, it's going to keep it more flatlined. And that's what electronics like. They like consistency in the power. They don't like peaks and valleys. That's why we put capacitors down on things, and we have voltage regulations, because we're trying to do everything in our power to keep that voltage as clean, as crisp as possible. And that's the problem that you'll have with those laptop style power supplies, is that as it gets heated up, you'll start having voltage fluctuations, because as you add heat, you change resistances. And if I change my resistance, like lowering it with heat, I'm going to change how much power is flowing through the other end. So that's why I like to get off of those power supplies and get onto something that's going to have some temperature regulation on here. So here we are. We've got all 3 cables hooked in. Super simple, guys. This thing is ready to hash We've got all the cables on here as necessary. There'll be a green light on here. It'll turn on. Until there's enough load, that fan won't turn on. I'm not sure how loud this fan actually is. I've never heard this particular fan go off. I know the one that's in my my 3D printer, when it goes under load, it's pretty loud. And I'm figuring this will be pretty loud too if you put enough load on there. But we won't even be cruising near half the load on this. I'll be a little, if I overclock the snot out of these bit axes, I'll be a little over 100 watts a piece. That's not even halfway on this. I don't think it'll be enough to kick the power supply fan on at all, which is kind of cool. It means that it's going to be running as efficiently as possible. So awesome. If you guys got any comments or questions, certainly hit me up in the comments down below. If you've made it this far, smash the Lizzie like button, subscribe. If you are wondering where you can grab these for yourselves, let's direct you right down to the information spot down below, and I will have a little link over there for like an affiliate link that you guys can use up over at solosatoshi.com. That's where I got this. I'm not trying to shill for them. It's just the equipment that I'm able to get. I like working with them. And no paid sponsorship. I pay for everything out of pocket. I never require any of these people to do anything. None of them are working with me directly. So it's just showing you guys what I'm doing, where I'm grabbing it from. Your mileage may vary. So, but this is what I'm grabbing: the Meanwell 600 by 12, 600 watts, 12 volts. And thank you for being here, and see you on the next one. Peace out. Stay savage. May your watts be low and your hash be high. Yo.